Everybody get up!
So, 6:33, welcome back to the show this morning. I'm Rose Lance Roberts. So, I did something this weekend I haven't done in a while.
What was that,
I
Lance?
went into a bookstore.
Really?
Yeah. You know, I love bookstores. And I used to, when they were more popular, or actually more, I guess, more plentiful.
Yes.
Easy to get to. There's not a good bookstore by my house anymore.
Really?
Yeah, they closed.
There's not a half-price books out there?
Well, yeah, but, you know.
That's my favorite
That's your
bookstore.
favorite bookstore?
Yeah.
That's a good bookstore, but no doubt. Good place to go. But I like going like to Barnes & Noble and hang out for a while.
Oh, yeah.
You know, read a book, have a cup of coffee, you know, whatever. You know, why buy a book? You just sit in Barnes and read it. That's why I learned to speed read. So
Brilliant pairing, Barnes & Noble and Starbucks.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Genius. But so anyway, though, this weekend, my daughter was at the house, and one of her few weekends off that she has. And so she was at the house. This is my youngest, and she's 13. And she's an avid reader, and she loves to read. So, you know, she'll generally like tell me about books she's reading, and you know, she read the whole series of A Dog's Purpose.
Yeah.
Right. And so, you know, they've got the new movies coming out in that series. And, you know, I can't watch those movies. They just
me
kill
too.
me, right?
Yeah.
I can't do that.
Sinus trouble for a week afterwards.
But, you know, so she reads all these books. So I said, well, hey, let's go to the bookstore this weekend. I haven't been in a while. Because normally I just order online now, right? If whatever book I want, I just order it and it shows up at the house when I go to the bookstore. But I said, hey, on Sunday, let's just go to the bookstore. We'll hang out for a while. And so we went to the bookstore, and we're, you know, looking at books and you know, just visiting and having a nice time. And anyway, so she can't really find a book that she wants to read, right? We're going through the aisle, and she's picking up a few, and she puts them down. She picks them up, puts them down, reads the back, puts it down. And I said, I know a book you need to. I know a book you need to read. And she goes, what's that? And I handed her the trilogy of Lord of the Rings. And she's like, really? I should read this? I go, you should read this. I said, it starts with a great battle. And actually, as you go through the series, you're going to learn a lot of things. And so she got home. As soon as she got home, and she rips it open, she starts reading the first book. And she comes in, she's so excited because her birthday is the same as Frodo Baggins.
Instant connection.
It is. I'm like, sold. We're good. You got to see it. So,
and you didn't see her the rest of the weekend.
I did. Actually, we did this Sunday morning. I did not see her. I have not seen her yet. She, you know, because she was in her room reading, and that was great. So, actually, she did come out to eat for like 5 minutes and went back to read. So,
next up, Frank Herbert and the Dune trilogy.
Yeah, I actually picked up that trilogy.
Yeah.
And that may be it was a little bit too heady for her, I think, right now at her age.
She'll get there.
Yeah, she'll get there though.
Oh, yeah.
Anyway, but like I said, it's you know, I'm excited about it because she's one of my out of 4 kids, she's the one that's not on her phone all the time.
Yeah.
Right. So I don't have to fight with her about the phone. She's good about it.
You know what I learned this weekend that you can now order from Amazon? A giant roll of toilet paper. You can order
like the commercial side, like the commercial ones they have in the commercial bathrooms.
No, this is a 1-month supply.
And what are you supposed to put it on?
Well,
does it have its own stand?
They'll probably sell you that too.
Okay, I don't know why you were looking for a 1-month supply of toilet paper.
I wasn't. I heard this third person just incidentally.
Jeez.
Not that I would ever order anything like that.
Okay. Back to books.
Yes. Kind of wiped out that subject, didn't we?
Pretty much. Anyway, back to the story, or back to the show. So the reason I bring this up is, you know, it's interesting because, you know, the youth is very different today. They have very different attitudes about things, and you know, one of the things that has become much more prevalent with youth as of late has been this rise of socialism. We talked about this at the beginning of the show. I wanted to touch on this topic. I wrote an article about it today. It's on the website. If you go to realinvestmentadvice.com, it's called Socialism Rises Due to the Great American Economic Growth Myth. And the point of the article is that there is a reason why millennials are talking about socialism as a better form of government than capitalism. You don't have that kind of conversation. These ideas are not topics when you truly have strong economic growth. If you take a look back at history, it tells you a lot of this, right? After World War II, our economy was growing at 6, 7, 8% on annual rates. Debt as a function of household net worth was not very high. And, of course, capitalism in America was the shining beacon, the shining example of economic power during that period of time. You know, the shining beacon on the hill was America. And there's more to it than just, economic growth, right? It's everything that revolves around that structure. You have a very moral foundation, a very strong religious center. Doesn't mean that everybody's the same religion, just means everybody's religious as a function. You have very moral, like I said, you have a very moral, grounded family unit. Debt is not something that people readily take on. They're financially responsible in many cases. And they have a very hard work ethic in general, because they have gone through something that has unified them as a generation, and that was World War II for us. Then as the economy grows, we become more complacent over time, and from complacency, we become more apathetic about life, and we begin to have this need to have everything we want, right? So we get into debt to afford these things, and then debt retards economic growth. So Scottish economist in 1787, his name's Alexander Tytler. We've talked about this on the show before, but I've actually posted this in the article. And he talks about the cycles of empires throughout history. And whether it was the Roman Empire, the Greek Empire, the French, the English, the U.S., they all go through the same cycle, right? They go through some type of, extraordinary event that bonds the country together very tightly. And because of that bonding, the country all kind of works in the same direction. And of course, through very tragic events, when you go through very hard economic times, people, turn to religion as a center, right? As a base. Faith becomes very strong because you're simply working on trying to figure out how to get out of this terrible mess you're in. And so, as they say, you find religion in foxholes, right? So when you are in the foxhole, you find religion. But out of that very moral center religious base, we develop courage, right? And because of our faith, we are stronger. And because we are strong, we have this courage. And that courage drives us to find a point where we develop liberty. And from that liberty, we then proceed and we continue to work and grow. And now we're into the 50s and the 60s in the U.S. economy as an example. We're working hard. Everybody's pulling together. Everybody's pulling their weight. And we develop abundance from that. Of course, as we move, through history, as we develop this abundance, one generation hands that abundance to the next generation. And the next generation doesn't have to work as hard for it, right? And so this abundance begins to lead to a little bit of selfishness. And from that selfishness also comes complacency. And we become more complacent. It's like, well, this is the way it's supposed to be. We're all supposed to have a 3-bedroom house with a swimming pool in the backyard. We're all supposed to drive nice cars. We're all supposed to do these things. And so I'm entitled to these issues. And of course, once we have this complacency, well, as long as I'm good, I really don't care about anybody else. We become apathetic about where we are in our economic cycle. We begin to care less about others. We are focused more on ourselves rather than ensuring that all of our neighbors and friends and families are being lifted up along with ourselves. It's about me. But from that apathy and that dependence ultimately leads to the rise of I should say not the rise of, but the downfall of capitalism. And as Andrew Tytler said, he says, a democracy is always temporary in nature. It simply cannot exist in a permanent form of government. A democracy will always continue to exist up until the point that voters discover they can vote themselves generous gifts from the public treasury. Think about where we are today. Be right back after the break.
Want a longer talk with Lance about your money? Request a personal one-on-one at lancerobertshow.com.